How about you?
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Dawgs versus All Y'all, a college football podcast where we don't just talk about my favorite team, the Georgia Bulldogs. We talk about all things college football, hence All Y'all. I'm Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me. In this episode, I'm joined by our resident Alabama expert, lifelong fan, Eric. What's going on, man?
What's up, brother? I don't know if I'm an expert, but
Well, we're gonna call you an expert because I'm not an Alabama expert and you're an Alabama expert. So that's what you are today.
just like my boy Roll Tide Willie says, I don't give a piss about nothing but the
Hey,
tide.
I think that's all you need to be an expert for your team is to not care about anybody else but your team. So
Fair. That's fair.
yeah, today you're an expert. But today's episode, y'all, we're gonna cover a couple relevant things in college football. Spring football just ended, so spring practices. Some of us had spring games, some of us didn't. Super lame of you, Texas, to not have a game. Shame on you. But what we're going to talk about, Eric, is our top 3 concerns or questions for our respective teams. Another thing we're going to talk about, obviously, we got to talk about this Colorado jersey retirement deal, whether or not the media and fans and some alum were overreacting, or is it justified? Should 2 and 12 be retired? We're going to talk about that, and we're going to end it off because Thursday is the NFL draft. It's one of my favorite couple days, 3 days events, and I know the same could be said for Eric. So what we're going to do is we're going to decide what's the perfect team for a couple of our favorite players. We're going to do that. If this is your first time checking us out, Suplex Dinner Club, please like, comment, subscribe. Check out past episodes of Dawgs versus All Y'all. We do predictions. We talk trash. We have fun. I'm a diehard college football fan, and I'm lucky to have some good, solid friends who are the same. And we like to talk this sport that we love. I can't wait for kickoff. But Eric, let's go ahead and get into it, man. Let's start off with a bang. Colorado, Coach Prime. As soon as you put that stuff in the algorithm, you get a whole bunch of activity. Let me tell you. But this is a good discussion to start off with. Colorado made the decision a couple weeks ago to retire quarterback Shedeur Sanders, number 2, and Travis Hunter, their do-it-all Heisman Trophy winner, wide receiver, cornerback, all-star player, definitely a first-round pick. It sounds like he's going to Cleveland. Everyone's saying it's pretty much a lock at 2, but we know how these things go. But Colorado made the decision to retire Travis Hunter's 12 and Shedeur Sanders 2 at their spring game just this past weekend. Now, when the announcement was made, there was a lot of backlash. And now, honestly, for me, the only backlash that really even had some weight to it for me was from the alums. There was a lot of alums that were kind of pissy and in their feelings about it, really questioning whether or not it was too soon, whether there were some other players who had number 2 that were all-star players that actually won the national championship for that university. So there was a lot of discussions. So that's the reason why I want to bring it to the pod, because I know we're both going to give our honest opinions of the situations. Even if we're fans of Coach Prime, if we're not if we're not fans of Coach Prime, we're going to give it up and be honest about it. So, Eric, I want to ask you, man, what are your thoughts when that news came out? What were your initial thoughts?
So I'm kind of 50-50 on it, if we're going to be completely honest with you. I believe Travis Hunter 100% should have his number retired at Colorado. Two-way player, was on the field almost all the plays for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
insane. Heisman Trophy winner.
Right.
You know, I mean, he's damn near everything that you would want out of a football player, and then some.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, I don't think we should have retired Shador's number.
Okay. Okay.
My man's won one conference game in 2 years.
Really? Was it only one?
Yeah. He only won one Big Ten game in
Big 12.
Big 12, not Big Ten. Yeah, from my understanding, I haven't checked the stats yet, but he won. Apparently, he only won one big conference game. I always
did they beat Arizona this year?
Because I don't think they did.
Really? I thought they did. I thought they beat Arizona, and I thought they beat Baylor. I'm not gonna say that he tore up Big 12 record wise, but I thought it was more than one. Because that's tough. Like I can see last year them maybe winning one Big 12, or they were in the Pac-12 last year. Maybe only one Pac-12 game.
Maybe that's what it was. I knew it was something like that.
Okay.
But I just, he let's call a spade a spade. He was kind of mid. He was kind of mid.
That's fair.
No disrespect to Shador. I think the kid's got a lot of talent. Yeah. I think the kid's going to end up being really good in the NFL, depending on where he goes.
Mm-hmm.
But with the weapons around him and that offensive line that was absolutely cobbled together by the transfer portal, Mans was on his back more than he was throwing the football. So, I can't understand why he would be, one of the ones that would get retired, especially when you have, Rashaan Salaam's number. His still isn't retired, and he's a Heisman Trophy winning
he's not retired?
No. Unless they've done it recently, his number was not retired the last time I checked.
See, I didn't check back to see which Colorado players were retired. Like the only one that I
number 19 got retired in 2017.
All right, cool. So they, that was a while.
20 years after he had already left.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that we did that. I mean, is it too soon for both? More than likely. I will say it's more than likely too soon for Travis, even though Travis was goated.
Right.
But, I just think it's crazy. Just imagine if Georgia retired numbers for everybody that was halfway decent. Y'all wouldn't have any numbers left.
Right.
Especially on defense.
Right. No, for sure. Although I could see them retiring Jordan Davis eventually. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see them doing that.
Y'all need to retire 13.
No, man. Shout out to my guy, Stet. Nah, but I agree with you. I agree with you to an extent. I think without a doubt, Travis Hunter should have his number retired. I think with them making the decision to retire his number so early kind of threw off a lot of people. It definitely threw me off because we're all used to, like you said, a couple years down the line, you have a successful NFL career. You're an upstanding human being. Like it's a lot of factors that normally contribute to a school deciding no one else is to wear this number. It's not just about you winning right there in the moment, in the present. Exactly. It's about a lot of that other stuff of you being that cultural figure within the university. And I have no doubt the type of person Travis Hunter has been and has shown himself to be. I have no doubt he's going to prove that 100% like he should absolutely be retired. And I love the answer that Deion gave when they pressed him about it. He said, "What? I shouldn't answer for previous coaches and administrations deciding so late to retire someone like a Salaam. You know what I'm saying? He won the Heisman. He's one of the greatest college football running backs of all time. it should be no reason why his number was retired at 20 years.
Right.
So the same thing could be said about Travis. Now, when it comes to Shador, I'll be honest, I don't think that his number should have been retired. I get it. He was their quarterback. He broke multiple school records. Talented dude. And he's a coach's son. Like, I get all of that. I get all that. While I don't fully agree with retiring Shador's number, I respect it. And that's one of those things where if your number's retired, you'll live forever in that school's history.
Absolutely.
So shout out to both of those guys. Shout out to Coach Prime for, standing and saying that's the reason why he did it, even though last week they did try to blame the athletic director. That's one thing I've noticed about Colorado and Deion. Like, when Coach Prime does something or says something, they try to protect him like all the way. They're like, no. That was this guy. He said that.
Yep.
When it came to that media member that was put in timeout, oh no, that wasn't Coach Prime's decision. That was Rick Jordan. That sort of thing. I get it, but it's kind of like, you say something, you stand on it. You need to be standing on it. But shout out to him, and I really hope that we don't see one of these kids' numbers get retired so quickly, because that's kind of weird to me.
Also, shout out to Shiloh. Nobody ever shouts out Shiloh. He's the forgotten Sanders kid.
Yeah,
it's so sad, man.
And everything that I see, I mean, obviously we're both actively on the internet where people trash the Sanders kids, and they'll trash Shiloh. He's not that good. Da 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 da. And while that's true, he's not like a upper echelon player. He competes.
Yeah,
he competes. And it really did seem like that team really loved playing with him.
Agreed.
And he did seem like a leader. So even though he made hothead decisions in games and stuff, but
I think he'll make a solid special teamer in the NFL. Honestly,
absolutely, I think so. I don't think he gets drafted, but he's going to get the opportunity. He's going to get the opportunity to play at the next level.
He's going to go play with Shador.
They'll figure out a way. Trust me, they'll figure out a way. All right, well, before we get into the NFL draft going on this Thursday, I do want to talk about spring football. Spring football just ended, Eric. I know Georgia had their G-Day game. I saw a lot of things to be excited about. There are some things that I was concerned about. I'm sure you could say the same about Alabama and their A-Day game.
Our practice.
And their performance. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not gonna call you guys out for doing that as a practice versus other teams that just said everything's shut down. Like, Texas showed their fans nothing. Like, this is what gets me about these spring games, spring showcases. For a lot of your fans, this is the one opportunity for them to be able to see your team.
Yep.
A lot of these fans cannot afford to be season ticket holders.
Nope.
A lot of these fans cannot afford to buy all of the home games, especially if you're in the SEC or Big Ten. Like, the ticket prices are ridiculous secondhand. So that's why I say shame on these teams that decided we're not doing any kind of showcase. That's your one time for a lot of those fans to be able to see that team and at least see some players. Give those fans something. So that's me being on my soapbox about I don't mind the game. Like, when it comes to a G-Day game, yes, I enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that my coach is an old school presence, and he's like, until it doesn't make sense, we're gonna do it because this is one time that the fans get to see us. I don't mind you guys making that decision to make it like a highly celebrated practice. That's fine, because if I'm an Alabama fan, that's my opportunity to be there. and see that team, see the next generation of kids that everyone's hyped about, that 5-star. I just think it's kind of bogus of these schools that just said, nah, screw that. We're going to wait until the fall for whatever reason,
And that's another thing we can blame on the transfer portal or however you want to look at it. Like, I had to talk one of my friends off a cliff because he was so pissed off that Bama didn't do a traditional 8A game, and I'm like, well, it's portal reasons. We gotta make sure that we're not, showcasing talent to somebody else. And I get it,
sense. That makes
but
sense.
I hate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just imagine if Nico Amaliva had a spring day game before he went to UCLA out there.
Hey man, good luck to that kid, man. I didn't even want to have a segment on that whole situation because, like I've told you in the chat before, that is more of an indictment on Tennessee as an entire program versus just Nico. Even though all the heat's on Nico, that's not the first time one of these Tennessee players that had problems NIL.
Nope.
That Hendon Hooker team where they started the playoff as the number 1 team and we waxed them. A couple weeks later, they were stopping fights in that locker room at halftime. And the rumors was it was because a couple players were making more money than the other players on NIL. So that's a culture issue, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And me and you both are in the same camp on that with the whole, fuck Tennessee anyway.
Facts. Like everyone's loving on Josh for making that call, but whatever, dude. But we're enough about Tennessee, man. We want to talk about
good teams.
The Alabama. We want to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs and the Alabama Crimson Tide because this is Dogs versus all y'all. So, Eric, I want you to start us off. I want to know your top 3 questions about your team going into the fall.
So I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to go backwards from 3 to 1.
Yeah, for sure.
3 being my least pressing question, 1 being my most, the one that I'm absolutely curious about.
Yeah, let's do it.
So my number 3 is going to be with all of our returning defensive starters that we had last year. Our entire defense is returning minus Malachi Moore, a 5th-year senior. God bless him. Love you, Malachi. And Jihad Campbell. Those are the only 2 cogs that we're going to have to replace in this defense.
Right.
As good as it ended up being towards the end of the year, are we going to be able to sustain that? That's my number 3 question because the championship teams at Alabama have always been predicated on hard-nosed defense.
Right.
We've had offenses that could outscore anybody, but if our defense was whack, we would not win a national championship.
Absolutely.
I come from the era of hard-nosed defense. I want to see the Reuben Fosters of the world, absolutely annihilate somebody and not get a 15-yard penalty for it, but, whatever. I need our defense to hold up, especially in the SEC, especially with some of these road games that we're going to have to go on to. Because the defense, for the most part, after that second half at Georgia, did well until Vanderbilt, we kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But, we've already talked about in the chat, that was a culture issue there too. From my understanding, kids didn't want to buck up after the Georgia game because, hey, we just beat Georgia. It's Vanderbilt. I mean, there were some slip-ups. The Vanderbilt game, key. Tennessee was iffy. But for the most part, the defense did its job. It got better as the year went on.
Right.
I need it to be elite this year. Point blank, period. There should be no excuses this year.
Okay.
My number 2 is our receiving core actually going to cooperate this year. Again, there was a lot of talk in that little show on Fox News or whatever it was.
Okay.
Where our receivers coach was in the receiving, in the team meeting, talking about the only 2 people that were taking notes ever was Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, and the
That's
rest of the
crazy.
team had given up on playing, receiver. And if you notice towards most of the second half of the year, the only guys that Jalen would look at were Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. Teams keyed in on that. If you double team Ryan, it was over. It was over. So I need to make sure that these receivers that we have in here are going to be cooperative with this offense. You've got Isaiah Horton. I think that was a fantastic pickup for us. Him, Jeremy, and Ryan as a three-headed monster, I think that's going to be a really good receiving group for my number one question.
Okay.
Who the hell is our starting quarterback? Whoever you talk to, depending on the day, it's a different answer. One day, Ryan Grubb says that Austin Mack had the best camp that you could ever have. One day, Kalen is like, "Oh yeah, Ty's our starter. He was the one that had the biggest jump between day 1, day 2, day 3." Another time, you would hear Ryan Williams go, "Man, I can't wait to be catching balls from Kalen this spring or this fall."
Right.
So I don't know who it is. I know who I want it to be, and I know who I don't want it to be.
Okay.
But it sounds like Coach is going in a different direction than I want to go in. Okay. Hey, I'm not there every day. I'm not seeing what's going on behind the scenes. I'm not seeing everything that Coach is seeing. Now, if he's just giving Ty Simpson the shot because he's been there for 5 years, we feel bad for the kid, we need to evaluate that. But if Ty Simpson is actually 100% beating out Keelan Russell and Austin Mack, then okay. But there is something to be said that he stayed here for most of his backup career.
For sure.
But does that necessarily mean you should be handed a starting job? You've lost 4 quarterback battles.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it's my opinion when it comes to Coach DeBoer. He's shown me, because I've been a fan of his since he was at Fresno. Yep. Like legit, I was paying attention to Fresno, watching their games, because one of our friends, he went to Fresno, and I would just watch it just to check him out. Plus, it's late night, West Coast games or whatever. Love those. One thing about Coach DeBoer is when he picks his quarterback, he sticks with him.
Absolutely.
No matter what. And some could say last year for you guys, there were times where Milroe wasn't playing up to snuff. What's going on? Why aren't we sending somebody in just to change it up? That sort of thing. And both of us love Jalen Milroe, but that's just the facts. There were a couple times where it's like, okay, Jalen, you maybe need to sit down for a little second just to compose yourself.
Clear your head,
yeah. But Coach DeBoer does stick with his guy. So, if DeBoer is saying Ty's his guy, that's his guy. That's for better or worse. But I will say with Ty Simpson, man, he's been there. Like you said, he's been there for 5 years. And this is his second year in that offensive scheme. Now, and you actually have the OC that you wanted. So maybe that combination will unlock something with Ty. Who the hell knows? And like you said, I mean, it's Ryan Williams, man. As long as you get some other weapons to go with him and Bernard, y'all are going to be cooking in the air, So those are three good questions from an Alabama fan to Alabama. I can't wait for the opener to see some of those questions being answered from y'all, because you guys in Florida State that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun either that's going to be a fun display, or that's going to be a really stressful game. One or the other. That's the only way that I see it.
I hope it's like Bryce's come out game
against Miami. Jeez, man.
I just want to put
that was a runaway train, man.
It's what I want. I want a 50 burger so I don't have to stress. Can watch
Right.
some of these other games, call it a
Facts.
day.
Facts. All
Because I
right.
stressed
Well,
too much last
man,
year.
yeah, I already know. I already know. Unfortunately, I watched a number of those, and I was just like, man, what the hell is going on? But my three questions concerning Georgia football past G Day. Like you, I'll go from three being my least concern to number one being the most concern going into the off season that I'm kind of stressed about, but not really. Number three, our defense in particular, much like you, Eric, our defense has traditionally been a good defense.
Mhm. Good.
Last year, I say good. I say good. Now, after that 21 team, phenomenal record breaking team, probably the best defense I've ever seen.
Amen.
But after that, it's been not so much to say that the guys have let up, but it's situations where positions have been challenged and we've been on the losing side of a lot of those challenges, especially in the defensive backfield. So my number three least concern, which defensive guys are going to be the head dog of that defense? Who's going to lead that defense? Last year, it was Jalen Walker. You could tell when he made plays, it fired up the team. He's flying over everywhere, and he was the spark plug. Who's going to be that guy now that Jalen's gone?
Yeah.
Now, I think Georgia has the best linebacker core of college football. If you look at that roster, you look at the depth, all the stars and all the hype and all that, I legit think Georgia has the best linebacker core. Is it going to be one of those guys? Is it going to be CJ? Is it going to be Raylan Wilson? Is it going to be one of those? Is it going to be Justin Williams, who was highly, highly touted coming out of Texas last year? And spring game, he was our leading tackler, flying all over the ball, super athletic. You could tell he played safety for a majority of his life, but he's just flying over it everywhere. Is he going to be that spark plug? I'm looking to see which of these guys is going to be that spark plug on that defense to really get them going. Because one thing about that Georgia defense, if the pass rush isn't there, is leaving holes in that backfield.
Yep.
And I know people used to drag guys like Julio Humphrey and even the year before that, Dalen Everett and all of these guys. But if you're not generating a pass rush, forget about it. You can have 5 stars as both of your corners, as your safeties and all of that. It won't mean squat if you're not generating a pass rush. So my number three concern, my least concern is which of those Georgia starters is going to become that spark plug for that team. My number two concern, this was a concern for me all last year, but a concern that people didn't really talk about. The offensive line. Who's stepping up in that offensive line? What's going to be the 6 or 7 guys in that rotation? Georgia, from the time of 2020 onward, and it's mostly because you're recruiting high level guys and you're trying to get everyone playing time, you're rotating all these guys.
Yep.
And that's cute. That's fine and dandy. But last year, it was never really an offensive line set where it was like, okay, these are our 5 starters. These are the 5 guys. When it comes down to it, these are the 5 that we're depending on, and we'll move in a guy here or there.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of disappointing for me as a Georgia fan because 2 of them were seniors, damn near super seniors. Truss was a super senior.
Yeah.
Tate Ratliff was a senior. Jarrett Wilson was a first-time starter. But, whether it was injuries or whatever, there was inconsistency in that offensive line. And when they showed up for games, they looked good. And they should look good. They're damn near all 4 and 5 star players. They're all 6'4", 6'5", 340, 350. Like, we shouldn't even be concerned with this, but it just didn't come together for them as a whole season. And then when it came down to it in the playoffs against Notre Dame, that's one of those things that really cost us that game, because Monroe Freely, even though I think he's going to be a star, I think he's going to be a first-round pick. You just look at the kid, he got his tail whooped. And everyone has those games. I'm not going to say, oh, he shouldn't be on our team, he should transfer, or anything like that. He's going to be a talented starter for our team, but he got his tail whipped. But the issue is that he wasn't the only one in points of the season. And I'm just looking to see, now that we've lost 4 of the 5 starters last year, who's stepping up? They look good in the spring game. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be honest, man. They look good in the spring game. And we have some young guys that look the part, and they're going to be next level. But I'm just wondering, what's going to be that 5 or 6 that we can say, these are our guys?
But on that same token, though, Carson was used to that starting 5, and those 4 of those 5 that you're losing are going to be replaced with the guys that that are very, very comfortable with Gunner. So that might actually make Gunner a little bit less, gun shy, because he knows what his guys can do. That second team offensive line, he had been, he's been playing with them all year last year. He knows their weaknesses. He knows their strengths. So I think there is some advantage to that. But also, I know all too well about the offensive line struggles, because that cost Mac Jones a job at New England. I hate it. I hate when the offensive line struggles. It's like, you feel like as a fan, you go, you have one job, and it's to stand there and do this. But like at the same time, you've got a 330-pound freak athlete trying to rip you to shreds. Like, I guess it is kind of difficult to do it.
I think when it came to pass rush, at least speaking for Georgia, our offensive line, when it came to pass rush, it wasn't that bad. It was in the upper tier. Yeah. My issue with them was the running game. Like,
y'all could not open a hole.
We could not consistently run the ball, and it was it was like perplexing to me. Like, it was times where we just couldn't run the ball, and it's like, dude, that level of athlete that you guys have recruited and coached, and we've seen individual great games from those guys, but as a unit, it was always all over the place and very inconsistent. So that's where my main concern with the offensive line is. Not so much with protecting a passer. It was more of the running game, because when Georgia's able to run the ball, we're an issue. We saw that against Texas. We saw what we did against Texas.
I didn't realize ETN only had 600 yards last year. Jeez Louise.
But he also missed a number of 4 or 5 games. He missed a number of games. But also, with that being said, like, Georgia's never been a one running back team, at least under Kirby. You know, we've always had a group. So
Gurley, Michelle, Swift.
Yeah. Swift and Holyfield, they were a unit with Brian Herrien also. Like, it's always been a team, which makes sense, especially for if you're trying to run the ball, especially Bobo's our offensive coordinator. He's going to run the ball. I mean, you laugh, but, he's going to run the ball.
He's going to run the ball.
He's going to run the damn ball. So if we can't run the ball, that's an issue. And the offensive line, they're going to steer that ship. So that's my number 2 concern. Number 1 concern, everyone knows it. Everyone went to spring practice as well as the G-Day game looking crazy at this unit, and that's that wide receiver room. Are the guys that we brought in, including Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas from the transfer portal, Colby Young is back after his stuff from last year, and we signed a couple guys, Taylor Taylor and C.J. Wiley. I watched C.J. Wiley when he was in high school. He's the truth. had a great catch at the spring game. But are these guys, they retooled that entire room damn near. Like it's only a couple guys like London Humphreys and Sokovie White that were actually contributing to the team that was here last year. Everyone else was pretty much go to the league or go somewhere. You're not that sort of thing. So my number one concern about that team is that wide receiver room. Are they gonna step it up? Because last year cost us games, flat out cost us games with their performance. I know a lot of Georgia fans are still, especially since Carson left, they're all too ready to drag Carson Beck's name. But y'all, that wide receiver room cost Carson a number of games and performances, and I'm optimistic that the guys that they brought in and the guys that are there will step up and deliver. That's what I'm hoping.
Because we talked about that a lot last year. Whereas, like, when you guys lost or barely won, it was like, hey, if it wasn't for, A or B dropping the ball, it could have been a lot different.
Right.
Like, it was just, I've never seen Georgia wide receivers since the time of AJ Green.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never seen an more inconsistent group at Georgia. And that blew my mind because,
yeah, they had a super bad year last year. Super bad.
And the fact that it was like hitting them in the breadbasket. And
people were
still blaming Carson.
Shitting on Carson. That's what I used to say. I'm like, dude, he's hitting them in the face mask.
He can't throw a better ball. It's not. He can't catch it for him.
Yeah. Nah, it was so frustrating last year watching that team because, again, I get it. I get the critique of Carson Beck and his play, but it's like, dude, a couple of those interceptions are because they popped in the air from catches. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it was so frustrating watching that team, watching that unit, and you want to cheer. I mean, of course, I'm gonna cheer for them. They're part of my team, but it's like it's flat out in your face. It's there, and that was a thing. And I was so glad that I'm not glad, but I'm glad that the media started to acknowledge it toward the end of the year when they were like, Georgia's leading the nation in drop passes. And I was spending the whole season like, dude, these wide receivers are killing me right now, dude.
Yeah.
They're blowing these games. Even though we're winning, they're still blowing these games,
We were talking about that as early as week 2 last year.
Quick. Yeah.
That Alabama game, it could have been a lot different if you had some guys catching the football when Carson was throwing it. Like, I honestly was expecting to get my ass beat that game.
I knew it would be one of those games, and like Jalen Milroe, man, is just a freak. So it's just like you can't count out a player like that if he's like in tune. If he's in tune and confident and on fire, it's like, all right, this dude is about to take over.
And he was in that game, boy.
Yeah, for the first half.
Yeah, well, that goes all the way back to, hey, y'all figured out the game plan until 3 minutes left into the fourth quarter, and y'all just kept letting Ryan Williams ballerina dance
doing
around
his thing, man. He's man.
But
already, you sound like Colorado with the retirement.
Go ahead, retire number 2, boy.
All right, before we get out of here, Eric, because it's been a good episode, and I definitely want to say thank you for taking the time to record with me and talk college football. But NFL drafts going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, our favorite weekend. And, a couple of our guys from Georgia, from Alabama, are going to be getting called up. They're going to be called up and hopefully have successful, productive NFL careers, hopefully contribute to a Super Bowl, much like a lot of Georgia and Alabama players did with this Eagles team. But I want to ask you before we get out of here, no matter what the draft order is, Eric, I'm not asking you just look from the draft, even though if you did, whatever, cool. I want to know perfect team for some of our favorite players. That's our
Okay.
last segment. So, our number one guy we want to talk about is quarterback Jalen Milroe, who was invited to the draft. So, because he's invited and the NFL doesn't like that, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, Will Levis situation where it's a guy just sitting there in the green room alone, that kind of hints that there's a couple GMs that are at least looking at Jalen and like, I want to take the chance on this kid. He's got the big arm.
Yep.
He ran a 4.3. Let's coach him up for a season and see what the hell we got. So my first question to you is Jalen Milroe getting drafted first round? And number two, besides that, what's the perfect team for Jalen Milroe?
I believe Jalen is 100% getting drafted in the first round, and that's not just me being a homer.
Right.
I think just like you said, that 4.3 speed, he's got a cannon. Somebody is going to look at that and go, I can coach that up.
Right.
I can make him an NFL quarterback. And much like Bill Belichick in his book come out and said, the biggest mistake that I made in the last 20 years was not drafting Lamar Jackson.
Of course.
In 2018. I have a feeling some of these head coaches and GMs are going to look back in about 10 years and go, damn, why didn't we draft him? And unfortunately for you, Adrian, I think your nightmare's just beginning, because I do believe that Mike Tomlin is going to be the one that drafts Jalen Milroe. There has been so much smoke to Jalen to Pittsburgh. So much smoke. Tomlin has glazed this man, talking about his intangibles, the running, the cannon. Can you just imagine Jalen just a beautiful 50-yard pass down the sideline to George Pickens?
Jeez, man.
Or to DK Metcalf.
Oh, man. As a Ravens fan, I would absolutely hate that. But I do agree with you. That's a perfect team for Jalen. And that's a perfect coach because one thing about Tomlin is he's going to stand up for you. He's going to stick his neck out for you. There was plenty of times where Big Ben, toward the end of his career, a lot of people were calling for Big Ben to go sit down. And Tomlin said, nope, that's my guy. We're sticking with him. We just have to be better around him. So that is a perfect team for Jalen Milroe. All right, next player we got, and I'm going to start us off with him, Jalen Walker, outside linebacker, edge rusher, middle linebacker, whatever the hell you want to put him, what spot or position you want to place this player. He's a baller. He won linebacker of the year for Georgia this past year. Terrific player, terrific individual, very intelligent, coach's kid, and a team player all around. In this day and age of the transfer portal, and you not getting your immediate playing time, think about it. He sat for a couple years.
That's crazy.
And got in a little bit of rotation in his second year, and then took off his third. He was our pass rush. And if not for Jalen Walker, we wouldn't have beat Texas in Austin. We probably wouldn't have won the SEC championship. We probably would have as Texas, but we probably wouldn't have. But I hope for the best for that dude. And my perfect team for him, even though mock drafts have him going to like Jacksonville and stuff like that, and Carolina, they've said, my perfect team, Eric, New Orleans Saints. Jalen Walker is an off-ball linebacker, perfect position, perfect placement. I know they have Pete Warner, who's a young, talented linebacker, but damn it, draft Jalen, New Orleans, if you got a chance at number 9, and get him in a rotation, because in the NFC South, you got Michael Penix, you got Baker Mayfield, and you got Bryce Young. All three of those guys can move around. You need a pass rush. You need Somebody that no matter where you put him on the field, if you say, hey, go get that guy, that's Jalen Walker. And if New Orleans drafts him, that's a perfect position. Plus, since we're here in Atlanta, I get to see him twice a year. So
True.
That would be awesome. That's my pick. Do you have a team for Jalen?
I do.
Okay.
And this one might surprise you.
Okay.
I think he'd be perfect in New England.
Okay. I've heard that.
I know a lot of people are expecting Abdul Carter in New England, which I would not hate.
Right.
For the longest time, I was Travis Hunter or bust. Again, would not hate it. But with Mike Vrabel as our head coach, one of the, in my opinion, greatest linebackers of all time, outside linebackers at that. Who else? Like, you get your guy on defense here. Not you get your left outside linebacker. If you want him to edge rush, guarantee you he can edge rush.
Yeah.
We need it too. We've got guys in the AFC East that can move around. Let Josh Allen get stuck with Jalen Walker a couple of times. He's going to think twice about moving on to that outside. We already know what can happen if Tua gets hit hard. So we're not even going to talk about that one.
I hope to never see him get hit ever again.
You were absolutely right. And then, that shit green team up in New York, I just every single time that I just want them to get hit constantly, regardless of who the quarterback is.
Jalen can help you with that for sure.
Exactly. I want Jalen to eat Justin Fields for lunch, and then when they bring Tyrod Taylor in because Fields got ate alive, I want them to eat Tyrod up. So I think that would be a good fit. I know a lot of people want us to go receiver. Build the defense. Defense wins championships.
I feel that. All right, let's move on. Another Georgia player, Malachi Starks. Phenomenal from the time he set foot on campus. Great leader, great performer. I definitely a DGD in my book, and I'm so happy that it looks like he's going to get drafted first round. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping. But my perfect team for him, no matter draft order or anything, my perfect team for Malachi, Eric, Dallas Cowboys. Malachi as a free safety for the Cowboys would be must-see TV in my opinion.
Him and Trayvon together? Ooh.
Dude, I would love to see that. I hate the Cowboys. I hate most Cowboys fans except for Dave. Shout out to you. But I would love to see Malachi on the Cowboys. What about you?
Okay. I actually had y'all taking Malachi.
Okay. Baltimore, that makes sense.
I think Malachi, the kid has the talent.
Right.
For whatever reason, they keep projecting him to fall in this draft. And I think lining him up with Kyle Hamilton in that secondary, and then you got Marlin out there too. I think that secondary could eat, and that's a lot of what Baltimore needs is some good secondary and some receivers to go with Zay. But I think that would just be a fantastic landing spot for him. Would have Kyle to learn from, and Kyle is one of my favorite safeties.
Yeah.
So
hell of a year.
Hell of a year. I love Kyle Hamilton, and I would enjoy watching y'all play a lot more.
I feel that. I like that. All right, we're back to Alabama. This is one of my favorite Alabama players. Just off of the way he looks, Tyler Booker, massive guy,
big boy.
Yeah, who you got, man?
I would enjoy him going to help Caleb in Chicago.
Okay.
I think Caleb Williams maybe a little bit unrightfully got shit on this last year. He had not a lot of a good offensive line. The weapons were there, but Caleb had some good games when his offensive line held up. I think Tyler Booker in the right scheme would be great protecting that left side for Caleb. And Tyler's one of those guys that can move around. He can play left, he can play right, he can play tackle. So a versatile guy like that on a team that needs versatility on the offensive line to protect your franchise, I think that just makes sense to me.
I like that. I like that pick. And I'm going to be totally 100% selfish and say Baltimore is a perfect team for Tyler.
I've seen him projected to Baltimore too.
Yeah. Oh, really? People are saying that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If he falls.
It makes perfect sense because I think he's probably not going to be a tackle at the next level.
No.
Although he could play tackle, I don't think that's his primary position. I think he is going to be an interior. So
Absolutely.
It does make sense. I don't know if he lasts all the way to 27 like that. I think for Baltimore to get him, I think we're going to have to trade up. So we're going to have to sacrifice a little bit to go up to get him because I don't think this 26 dude's better than him as a
depending
prospect.
On who you look at. Some people have him going early second.
Really?
Which blows my mind.
It's probably because he's a guard.
Yeah.
They're projecting him as a guard.
Pretty much. And they're always talking about his inconsistency in the run game. His footwork is kind of mid sometimes. He lunges a lot. He does get a fuck ton of holding calls. I will give him that. Trust me, he has killed many a drives. But I love his talent. I think he is. Hey, if he falls, y'all better snatch him up. Please don't let Kansas City get him.
I can easily see offensive line coaches looking at him all and just like, dude, I can make something out of this mountain. I can get this guy to be a Pro Bowl player. I see it. I see the vision. I see the talent. And like you said, even though there were a couple holding and questionable play from him in spots, the potential is absolutely there. And I think that being at Baltimore, his versatility, the size, the ability that he has goes perfect on that team because
Agreed.
we do need some stability at the guard position, and I think he would make a massive upgrade in that room. So I'm gonna be selfish to say Tyler Booker, come on to Baltimore because we want you. All right, last player before we get out of here, Eric. Malachi Moore. He had a polarizing season this past year. Like you said, fifth-year guy. He's been around the program. He's been around a whole lot of success on that team. But there were a couple little questionable decisions on field that probably soured the opinion of Malachi for some fans. I probably would even say most Alabama fans love Malachi Moore. I think it was just some in moments of emotion that kind of took him to task. But I want to know from you, Eric, what's the perfect team for Malachi Moore?
And my thing on that is, don't you want emotion from your football players?
And that's what I was going to say.
Don't you want them to, especially in a college game where everybody is jumping ship at the drop of a dime, literally, no loyalty. Don't you want a guy that loves your squad that much that he would just go ballistic sometimes? Malachi held it in for pretty much his whole damn career. The only player in Alabama or Auburn history to go undefeated 5-0 in a Iron Bowl.
That's crazy.
Love that. I love Malachi Moore. I think he is going to drop in this. I've seen him projected third, fourth round. I think that's crazy, but I understand it because, like you said, there are question marks.
Right.
I want him in New England. I want Mike Vrabel to just say, hey, here's our next Devin McCourty. Let's get started with him. Because that leadership that Devin McCourty had for the last 15 years that felt like in New England since 2009, I want that to be Malachi. I want Malachi to have that C on his chest for his entire New England career. So that's where I want him to go. And I'm already calling Vrabel and be like, hey, bro, hey,
make a play.
Go pick number 13.
Okay, my perfect team for Malachi, Houston Texans.
Yes.
Houston Texans, because like you said, Malachi is cherished and beloved because he's 5-0 in the Iron Bowl. Seen a lot of success. Talented guy. Can work your slot. And he's a little versatile. Like, he plays safety and corner in spots, right? Am I? Somewhat. In Houston, now think about that defensive backfield. Think about having on one side arguably the best corner in the game, having my guy, Kamari Lassiter, and now having him kind of working on the inside or rotating where you can move Kamari Lassiter to the inside, because, hell, Kamari would be in heaven if he worked the slot. But I think that's a nice rotation in that defensive backfield. I don't know how that will work out in the draft. I do think he'll get drafted like second, third round. But, I mean, to top it all off, the head coach, man.
Roll Tide.
The head coach is an Alabama guy, and you know that he's going to get him right and get him in the right position. So
I just pulled up Houston's defense. You'd have Will Anderson on the left end. You have Henry To'oTo'o at middle, Christian Harris at the slot linebacker, and then Stingley, Kamari, Gardner Johnson, Jalen Petrie.
It's like an SEC, just all
holy
SEC
shit.
Team. Yeah. So
who needs to score when you have that defense?
And that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I just see his style of play. Like, they can hone that. Like you said, that's a great quality to have in spots. Like, as long as you're not costing us the game by being fiery and stuff, then
and
rock and roll.
Real, that game was over.
And it was over. Like, yeah, he just delayed the inevitable through his emotions. It is what it is.
And no offense to Vanderbilt, but I'm going to be honest, I'd be pissed if I lost to Vanderbilt my senior year too.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. But yeah, that's my fantasy booking for him. But Eric, man, we're at the end of the podcast. Once again, I want to say thank you for joining us, man.
Always.
Listeners, check us out. Dawgs versus All Y'all. Once again, a college football podcast where we don't just talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. We talk about all things college football, hence All Y'all. I'm Adrian. This is Eric. Y'all enjoy the NFL draft, and I mean, hell, we got a couple months until football. So, go Dawgs.
Trust your preparation. Your ass is prepared for this shit for fucking 365 days. I think about the fucking that locker room. Think about getting our opportunity. All the shit you went through this week to get ready for this game. Now is when you pay the fucking price. You go out there with energy, enthusiasm. Hey, now, ain't nobody in this room should be cautious. Ain't nobody in this room should be nervous about shit. Go out here and fuck their ass up. Don't think about scoreboard. Don't think about shit. You think about knocking the shit out of them. Did you hear what Box said on Monday? When I sat in that fucking meeting, I wanted to go fucking play right then. Tore your shit up out here. 2 years ago, fuck your shit up. Goddamn pride and joy. Tell me you fuck these guys up. You go play the right way. You play the right way. You knock their ass off. You stay off the fucking ground. You tackle the fucking man with the ball. The shit's easy. Look at the right shit. Punish their ass on offense and kick their ass on special teams, guys. It's about who the fuck we are. I believe in you. Let's go.